The press have rightly focused on how the coronavirus pandemic has caused so much suffering and death in the world. However, concern is now being expressed that the pandemic could increase the likelihood of war. In this video, we will examine briefly events that are happening in the world and compare the developing international situation to what the Bible has to say about future conflict in the world. A few weeks ago, there was a remarkable headline. The price of oil in the United States had turned negative for a short while. A worldwide surplus of oil had driven up the cost of storage, and traders were willing to pay to dispose of oil rather than to be faced with these rising costs. Due to the impact of coronavirus on the major world economies, world oil consumption has significantly reduced. This is what caused briefly the US oil price to fall below zero. World oil prices are still low, and we have the evidence of this in falling petrol prices. This situation had been made worse as some countries had previously increased oil output in an attempt to bolster their own economies. Recently, the oil price was raised as a result of an agreement between two of the major world producers, Saudi Arabia and Russia, when they agreed to reduce their own oil output. This agreement emphasized the dependence of the economy of Russia upon oil and led to suggestions that Russia might suffer more than any other nation from continuing low oil prices. At the present time, the oil price still remains less than the level on which Russia has based its own economic forecasts for equilibrium. The US and Iran are also major oil producers. The US is said to be self-sufficient, producing enough oil for its own domestic needs. They are also enemies, with a recent history of conflict in the Persian Gulf, a major oil-producing area. This conflict has occurred in the Persian Gulf itself, particularly in the area of the Straits of Hormuz. These straits provide the only sea access to a number of major oil-producing nations. When there are concerns about conflict in that area, the oil price rises. A conflict that would close the straits to shipping would result in a significant increase in oil prices. Although no nation might deliberately plan a conflict in that area, the US and Russia could gain an economic benefit if war were to break out. The Middle East has also suffered as a result of coronavirus. Many are seeing growing discontent in Middle Eastern countries at the health and economic impact of the pandemic. This discontent is being seen particularly amongst the young. Such discontent has the potential to cause further instability in an area in which there is existing conflict, for example in Yemen, in Syria, and between Israel and the Palestinians. So far, we have looked at what the press are seeing in the Middle East today. We are convinced that the Bible is the inspired word of God, and as much of what it has to say is centered on past events in the Middle East, in particular Israel, we look to see what God is predicting will happen in that area. 2,500 years ago, the prophet Ezekiel was given a revelation of how there would be a major war in the Middle East. That war involves a conflict between two groups of nations. Included in one group are Russia and Iran, and in the other are the UK and the US. This alignment of nations is exactly what is being seen today and provides further evidence of the divine origin of the Bible. Present rising unrest in the Middle East and enormous economic pressures on the most powerful countries in the world point forward to major conflict in that area. The Bible is predicting this accurately, so you can trust it to show what the solution will be to this and to other major world problems that are faced today. To learn more, click on the link in the Facebook post and read an interesting booklet on the Middle East and Bible prophecy. This is free and without obligation. No one will contact you, but if you would like to learn more about the Bible, please message us using the link on the Facebook page.